Well, hi and welcome to Chess-Based Workshop. Thanks for joining me. This is Steve Lopez with another Chess-Based Workshop for another week. You'll remember last week we were talking about how to play a casual game against Fritz or Ribka or Shredder or Junior, whichever of the software hierarchs, didn't mean to leave hierarchs out, whatever one of our programs you're playing against. And I get these questions every January. People get software for Christmas. They've never had one of these programs before, and they need to ask the easy stuff. So that's why we're doing some basic things. And last week we talked about setting a casual playing level based on the time that Fritz or whatever program you're using would take to make a move. And in that video, I actually discovered something interesting, which was that I had a weird opening book set up. It's been a while since I had fooled around with this on this computer, and I forgot that I had been doing some work on my laptop on the Gioco piano, so I had a different opening book set up. So that reminds me, this week we want to cover several different topics. One of them is how to open up a specific opening book in the Fritz software. So we'll look at that first. So let's say we're going to sit down, we're going to play a casual game against Fritz or Ribka, Shredder, or whatever, and we're going to go through some of the steps you want to do to actually play against it. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you have an opening book loaded. Make sure it's the book that you want. So we go to the green button up here in the corner. It's called the application menu. Click on it, go to open, and then down here to openings book. Green button, open, openings book, and you get the Windows file select dialog. It defaults to the books folder that's under my documents. However, you can use this to go anywhere on any drive and open any book. You'll notice I have several books here. One of them was the Gioco that I was fooling around with back when, but I want to change it to a different book. What book do you pick? You'll notice I've got Fritz 12, I've got Shredder, I've got Power Book, I've got the opening tree. What do I want? Well, here's the deal. If all you got is the Fritz 12 opening book, that's fine. Just click on it. If you've got Power Book, if you've purchased the Power Book disc, that's cool too, because you've got a whole bunch of openings in Power Book that you don't have in the Fritz or the Shredder book. The Fritz book is an opening book that is tuned toward the way Fritz and generally any chess playing program plays chess. So, for example, if you have imported a UCI engine or hacked around with a Winboard engine to get it to play in the Fritz interface, and you don't have an opening book specific to that engine, just use the Fritz one. It'll work okay. However, if you have an opening book for the specific program that you're playing, in this case, here's the Shredder's opening book, use the book for whatever engine you're playing. If you're playing Ribka, use the Ribka book. You generally get just stronger play out of the computer. I don't even mean necessarily stronger play, but better results would be a better way to put it, because different chess engines play chess in different ways. They tackle the game in different manners, and the opening books tend to get the programs into positions that they like to be in, that they excel in. However, as a human player, that may not necessarily be the best thing for you, because you're not going to see a lot of closed games out of a chess computer if it's using its normal opening book. Chess computers like open games because they excel at tactics, right? So you might want some closed games. You might be a Queen's Gambit player, and you might want to practice the Queen's Gambit. That's why you want to use Power Book if you've got it. Power Book is all the openings, not just the ones that computers like. So as a general rule, if you want the computer to play its best game, if you want it to play, play really well against you, let it play its own game, use the book for that engine. If your engine doesn't come with a book, as I said, if it's a UCI or Winboard or whatever, then use the Fritz 12 book. However, if you want to get the widest variety of openings as a human player, the kind of things you'll see in chess tournaments or down at the club against other people that you might be playing, use Power Book if you've got it, if you've made that additional purchase. So I'll pick Power Book. I'll just click once on it here and click New Open, or I can just double click on it. Either way it works, and it loads, and there it is. There's Power Book 2011. So that's how you load an opening book. You go up here to the green button, go to Open, then Openings Book, and make your pick. This also explains, this is the second thing I want to talk about, is this also explains why Fritz plays very quickly when you start a game. It's playing out of the opening book. It does not have to think about its moves. It's pulling moves right from the opening book, and it will continue to do so until such time as either you run out of moves, you come to the end of a variation, which happens if you play perfectly, if you play nothing but book moves, or if you're only 3 or 4 moves into the game and Fritz starts thinking, you know that you've made a non-book move. So one of those two things will happen. Fritz will just crack a move out instantly at the beginning of the game as long as you're still in the opening book. As soon as you make a move, as soon as you run out of moves in the opening book, which means you've run out of theory, and now you're moving into the middle game and into uncharted territory, unknown waters. Or you make a move right in the opening 3 or 4 moves in that's not a book move. It's not established theory, and you're playing something a little bit odd. That's when Fritz starts thinking. So that's how you know you've left the opening book. As long as you're still in book, Fritz will just pop a move off instantly. You make a move, Fritz bangs another one out super fast. As soon as he starts thinking, then you know you're going someplace odd, either because you've varied out of the book or because you've just run out of moves in the book. You've run out of theory, and now you're going into the practical unknown. Last time around, we clicked on the levels button, and we looked at fixed time. This time around, we're going to look at the other option, which is fixed depth. We talked about plies last time around. A ply is a half move. Every time a player makes a move, that's a ply, a half move. It's called a ply in computerese, computer terminology. For example, if you sat down at the club and you're playing black against your opponent, you played a 25 move game that you won. Now let's say he won. Let's say you mated him. Your last move was checkmate at move 25. All right. Each player has made 25 moves. So it's a 25 move game. That's what we say as human beings, but a computer would see that as a 50 ply game. 25 times 2. Each player has made 25 moves. It's 50 ply. Every time a player makes a move to change the position on the board, that's a ply. That's what you're setting here for search depth. Search depth, the default is 5. That means that Fritz will look 2.5 moves ahead in human terms. You can set it higher. Fritz will look farther ahead. If you set it lower, Fritz will not look ahead very far. The bigger a number, the better the play you'll get out of Fritz. So if you want to artificially handicap Fritz, give it a small number, but just understand you're going to have to come off with a really cool combination that's also a forced combination to put one over on Fritz or whatever engine you're using. But you can limit the search by the search depth. And this is an absolute, by the way. We talked last week about how the time setting was not necessarily an absolute. For example, we demonstrated how if you set Fritz for 30 seconds a move, it can look much longer than 30 seconds depending on where it's at in its search at the time the 30-second mark is reached. In fact, we showed last week there was one place where Fritz would not have moved until 55 seconds had elapsed. This is different. If you set this for 5 as the default, when Fritz does a 5-ply search, as soon as that 5th ply is done, bang, it makes the best move that it has found. Whatever number you set, that's how far ahead Fritz will look, and it will not vary from that. You set it for 10, it will look 5 moves deep, bang, make a move. As soon as it's done, a 10-ply search. It'll play the best move that it's found. I will give you one additional tip for the use of fixed depth, and that is that you want to set it for an odd number. I'm not going to go through the whole explanation. I believe I've done it in 1 or 2 prior videos in the Chess-Based Workshop series, and I know that I've written about it in Chess-Based Workshop and then many years ago in T-Notes, which you'll find on the internet. They're all over the place. Just do a search for the concept, and you'll find it. The information's out there. But the short version is this, without going into a major explanation. Computers tend to be tactically blind when they do searches at even number search depths. So you want to set an odd number. It just makes the computer play a little bit better. It doesn't fall into blind tactical traps as easily if you set it for an odd number. So use odd numbers. That's just a general rule of thumb for this. If you do a web search for Fritz and shootout, I believe you will find an explanation in one of my old articles where I go into some level of detail on why this is so. So use those search terms. It ought to pull it up. It's an older article. It's probably at this point dang near 10 years old, but it's kicking around out there someplace online, and you should be able to find it. But if you don't want to go through all the explanation, just trust me on it. When you set a fixed depth, and I'll show you again how to do that. You go to the home menu, go over to this levels section, Click the levels button, select fixed depth, and put a number here for how deep you want Fritz to look. Remember, it's not moves, it's plies. So, for example, a 5 ply search depth means that Fritz is looking 2.5 moves deep. Just set this search depth for an odd number. It just works a little bit better without going into all the details. Just trust me on this. That's all you have to do. You click OK, and then you're ready to go. And again, we learned last week that if you want Fritz, if you want to play white, just make a move. If you want Fritz to play white, you just flip the board, hit the space bar, and Fritz will play. And, of course, he plays knight f3, which I hate. Thank you, Fritz. Wanted e4. Anyway, there you go. This is Chess Base Workshop for another week. Oh, by the way, this is something else, too. I want to show you one more thing that I just noticed. Down here in the engine pane, notice that knight f3 is here, and the letter B is here, shown in 2 different places. People say, what does that B mean? Well, it means that it's a move out of the book. Fritz is still in book. So that's why you see B's here instead of all this calculation stuff. Fritz didn't calculate. It pulled the move out of the book. So that's why there are B's. There we go. Now I'm done for another week. Next week we'll get together again and look a little bit more about playing casual games with Fritz. Until then, I'm Steve Lopez. Have a great week and have fun.